ഹലോ എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം, വെൽക്കം ടു ദ ഷോ. ഇന്നത്തെ നമ്മുടെ എപ്പിസോഡിൽ ഗസ്റ്റായിട്ടുള്ളത് എലിസബത്ത് കീറ്റൺ ആണ്. ഒരുപക്ഷെ മലയാളികൾക്ക് എലിക്കുട്ടി എന്നുള്ള പേരായിരിക്കും കൂടുതൽ പരിചയം. കഴിഞ്ഞ 3 വർഷമായിട്ട് ഇൻസ്റ്റഗ്രാമും യൂട്യൂബിലൂടെയും മലയാളം പഠിച്ചും പഠിപ്പിച്ചും എലിക്കുട്ടി നമ്മുടെ എല്ലാ മനസ്സുകളിൽ ഒരു ഇടം നേടി. സോ ഐ റിയലി ഹോപ്പ് യു ഗൈസ് എൻജോയ് ദിസ് എപ്പിസോഡ്. താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച് ഫോർ വാച്ചിങ്. ഹായ് എലിക്കുട്ടി, നമസ്കാരം.
നമസ്കാരം. സുഖമാണോ?
സുഖമാണ്. എന്തൊക്കെയുണ്ട് വിശേഷം?
വിശേഷമില്ല, എന്ത് ഓഫാണ്. സോ അതുകൊണ്ട് നല്ല റിലാക്സ് ചെയ്യണം.
ഇപ്പൊ ഇവിടെ ഹനോയിലാണല്ലേ?
ഹനോയിലാണ്. ഇവിടെ എനിക്ക് ഒരു ജോലിയുണ്ട്. ഞാൻ അക്കാഡമിക് കോർഡിനേറ്റർ ആണ്. സോ അർജുന് എന്റെ ഭർത്താവ് ഒരു ടീച്ചറാണ്. സോ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇവിടെ താമസിക്കുന്നു.
ഓക്കെ. അപ്പൊ ഇതിനു മുന്നേ യു ആർ ഇൻ ദുബായ് അല്ലേ കുറെ നാള്?
അതെ, 5 വർഷമായി ഞാൻ ദുബായിൽ താമസിച്ചു. പക്ഷേ സെപ്റ്റംബർ ഞാൻ ഹനോയിലേക്ക് വന്നു. സോ 2020 ഒരു ഭയങ്കര എക്സൈറ്റിംഗ് ഇയർ ആയിരുന്നു for many reasons. So yeah, but actually ദുബായിൽ അർജുനെ ഞാൻ കണ്ടുമുട്ടി.
Okay. And that was one of the main reasons why you started learning Malayalam, അല്ലേ?
അതെ, I mean ദുബായിൽ, if you throw a rock ഒരു മലയാളി, you're so പക്ഷേ എന്റെ ബെസ്റ്റ് ഫ്രണ്ട് ഒരു തമിഴത്തിയാണ്. അവളുടെ ഭർത്താവ് തൃശ്ശൂർക്കാരനാണ്. So actually I started making some Malayali friends before, but അർജുൻ കണ്ടുമുട്ടിയപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ഒരു ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ടീച്ചറാണ്. എനിക്ക് ഭാഷ ഭയങ്കര ഇഷ്ടമാണ്. So when I met him, I was like, oh, I want to learn this language. This is interesting. And then yeah.
and here we are right now. Malayalam, for anyone who's a non-native speaker, ഒരുപാട് ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ലാംഗ്വേജ് ആണല്ലേ? അപ്പോൾ സംതിങ് ദാറ്റ് ഐ റെഡ് ഇസ് ദാറ്റ് ഇപ്പോൾ വെൻ യു സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ് ലേണിംഗ്, ഒരുപാട് കണ്ടന്റ് ഒന്നും ഇല്ലായിരുന്നു ഫോർ യു ടു കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് ലുക്ക് അറ്റ് ആൻഡ് ലേൺ. ഐ തിങ്ക് probably a lot of reasons are that maybe no one from outside is actually coming and learning the language, right? Was that one of the main reasons why you started teaching Malayalam as you went on learning yourself?
So actually ദുബായിൽ ഒരു സ്കൈപ്പ് ബാൻ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. സോ അതുകൊണ്ട് എന്റെ മലയാളത്തിന്റെ ലെസൺസ് നിർത്തും. So like I couldn't have my online Skype lessons anymore. So അങ്ങനെ I started doing some self-study, some research, finding PDFs, and yeah, just Instagramil oru series studygram enarne. So like there are people who do studygrams where they make these infographics where they're making their notes. So oru divasam njan Arjunodu paranju like enikku highlighters and pens and veranam. It's like so then I started making the notebook like this. And yeah, so that's how Elikutty started. It was just me making notes and trying to get feedback from other Malayalis or other people trying to learn Malayalam. Facebook il oru group undayirunnu learning Malayalam, പക്ഷേ ഭയങ്കര inactive ആയിരുന്നു. Like bore ആയി. പക്ഷേ എനിക്ക് ഒരു friend ഉണ്ടാക്കി. I have one American friend, Emma, that I met from that. But that was it. Like there was no active participation going on. Sometimes someone would say like, I'm going to eat parayum, like anganana, but there was no structured learning. So I kind of had to just start on my own. And then how was it, like oru varsham after oru varsham karinjittu oru newspaper and Instagram kurichu erutti. They wrote about my Instagram in the newspaper in Dubai. And there's one newspaper happens. And you know how Malayalis are with their newspapers, once it's in the newspaper, like it's for like,
yeah.
And so it just like the next paper picked it up and the next paper picked it up, and like all of a sudden like news reports were coming to our house. We had Asianet and everything, and I was like, what is this? And yeah, so then in 1 month I went from 1,000 followers to 11,000 followers. It was just like, oh man. And so, but the biggest surprise for me was I thought that most of the people that would be learning from me would be people like me who are in a relationship or have friends that are but they're like foreigners. പക്ഷേ കുറെ ആളുകൾ Malayalis ആണ്, but they're living in different parts of India, they're living in different parts of the world, and they're like, I never had a chance to really learn Malayalam properly, and finally, you know, from your perspective as an English speaker, it's easier for me to understand how to study Malayalam. So that was really shocking and really motivating. And then now with the continued growth of my page, like I always feel like I need to adapt, you know, and make sure that the things that I do have kind of like a fully informative perspective on Kerala culture, because now when you type in learn Malayalam, you see some white girl pop up and it's like, you know, like I don't want to like hijack, you know, the culture like that. So that's why on my page, if you look, I try to feature, you know, like right now I'm doing a great collaboration with Rajwal Xavier. He's an excellent Malayalam calligraphy artist. He does workshops in Kerala. Before I worked with food blogger Anjana for different Kerala ingredients and Kerala foodstuffs. And then I've talked to other Malayalis, whether they're in Kerala or outside of Kerala. For example, I talked with Bobby Seagull. He's a BBC teacher. And even though he grew up outside of Kerala, it was really neat to talk that perspective because, you know, so my goal is not only, you know, the roots of helping learn Malayalam, but also look at the different perspectives of what does it mean to be Malayali? You know, a Malayali isn't just someone who, you know, lives in Kerala, eats parota and beef and banana chips every weekend, you know, like, that's like a lot of people set that as like the Malu standard, and it's like there's more than only to be Malayali, right? And when people come on my page, and I know they're trying to support me, but they say things like, "Oh, you're more Malayali than, you know, this person," or like, "Oh, you're so da da da." I feel like, oh, like what does it mean to be Malayali? So I try to have a variety of perspectives and experiences on the page, and even though yes, it is me teaching, like I don't want it to be all about me. I want it to be about the language and everything that comes with it. So that's been a really interesting line to walk in the last year or two.
ഇപ്പൊ 3 വർഷമല്ലേ തുടങ്ങിയിട്ട്. ഇന്നലെ ഞാനൊരു പോസ്റ്റ്, ഐ സോ വൺ ഓഫ് യുവർ പോസ്റ്റ് ടോക്കിംഗ് അബൌട്ട് ഹൗ ഡിഫിക്കൾട്ട് വാസ് ഇറ്റ് വെൻ യു സ്റ്റാർട്ടഡ്, ആൻഡ് പിന്നെ ദാറ്റ് യു നോ നമ്മൾ കാണുന്നത് ഇസ് ഓൺലി ദ ഗുഡ് സ്റ്റഫ് ഓൺ ഇൻസ്റ്റഗ്രാം. ദിസ് ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ടി. ബിക്കോസ് ഇപ്പം എൻ്റെ കേസ് എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിലും ഞാൻ പഠിച്ചു വളർന്നത് ബഹ്റിനിലാണ്. സോ ബഹ്റിനിൽ ലൈക്ക് മലയാളം നമുക്ക് obviously എല്ലായിടത്തും മലയാളികളുണ്ട്. യു ടോക്ക് ടു യുനോ മലയാളീസ്, യുവർ ഫ്രണ്ട്സ്, എവ്രി വൺസ് എ മലയാളി, മോസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ദ പീപ്പിൾ യു നോ. പക്ഷേ ദ പ്രോബ്ലം ദർ ഇസ് ദാറ്റ് ഇപ്പം നമ്മൾ സ്കൂളിൽ യു ഡോണ്ട് ഹാവ് എ ഫോർമൽ എഡ്യൂക്കേഷൻ വേർ യു ആർ ആക്ച്വലി ലേണിംഗ് മലയാളം. അപ്പോൾ ബിക്കോസ് ഓഫ് ദാറ്റ്, and as kids you don't really take it seriously, right? You don't take your mother tongue seriously to sit down every day apart from school to come and sit down and learn Malayalam. But what you're doing is definitely, it brings a lot of value to all of the people, including me, for us to know. And namakidinte difficulty ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ മനസ്സിലാവുന്നത് is when you actually talk about the verbs, the adjectives, you bring in all those stuff in it, and we don't even think about it. ഇപ്പം എൻ്റെ കേസിലാണെങ്കിലും I was so shocked. It was so difficult to kind of wrap my head around ഇത്രയും കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട് for someone like you to figure things out. It must be so, mind boggling. And obviously Arjun ഉണ്ട് to help you out and all that, but it's so, I mean, hats off to you. It's something that's a very difficult feat. And നേരത്തെ I saw one of your videos where you talked about English logic-ഉം Malayalam logic രണ്ടും, it's very different. So if it's ABC, it's BAC. It's very difficult for you to pick that up. പിന്നെ വേറൊരു സംഭവം that I found really difficult from your perspective is probably the dialects. ഇപ്പോൾ കോഴിക്കോട് സൈഡിൽ ഒരു രീതിയായിരിക്കും സംസാരിക്കുന്നത്, തൃശ്ശൂർ വേറെ ആയിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഡയലക്ട്സ് പിക്കപ്പ് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് എന്തായിരിക്കും, what is the easiest thing to do in order to figure things out?
So for dialects, I think it's just immersion, like you have to spend time with people who speak this dialect, or you have to be around or watch a lot of films. A lot of the older films have a lot of these dialectical characters, right? And so it's really interesting. But yeah, like Arjun speaks with the Ernakulam accent, and for me, I'm studying textbook Malayalam. So when I speak Malayalam, everyone's like, "Oh, you're so cute because you're speaking this like Kunya Malayalam." But 2018 എനിക്ക് ഒരു വലിയ യാത്ര ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു കാസർഗോഡ് നിന്ന് തിരുവനന്തപുരത്തേക്ക് പോയി സോ അപ്പോ ഒരു സോളോ ട്രിപ്പ് ആയിരുന്നു സോ അതുകൊണ്ട് കുറെ ആളുകൾ എന്റെ ഡ്രൈവേഴ്സും എന്റെ ഹോസ്റ്റും കുറെ ആളുകൾ കുറച്ച് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് അറിയണമായിരുന്നു യെസ് ആൻഡ് സോ സംസാരിക്കാനായിരുന്നു
പറയുമായിരുന്നു
അതുകൊണ്ട് കുറെ മലയാളം പ്രാക്ടീസ് കിട്ടി എനിക്ക് ഓർമ്മയുണ്ട് തൃശ്ശൂരിൽ എനിക്ക് ഒരു ഡ്രൈവർ ഉണ്ട് എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡ് മലയാളം പറയും പക്ഷേ ഒരു ഫോൺ കോൾ കിട്ടുമ്പോൾ എന്തോ I'm like, oh, that's the accent, Yeah, so it was really interesting to be exposed, and to all of these different things. And yeah, like, ഒരു conversation അങ്ങനെ, എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും, 8-10%, like, I can understand a lot. പക്ഷേ ഒരു മലയാള cinema, especially like in the 90s, they have all these really strong, it can be very difficult to follow everything because it's happening so fast, now the speed and there's always this joke that people make about like the Malayali the chetas that are working at the shop and they're saying the specials for today and it sounds like Eminem rapping,
yeah.
Actually one interesting point subtitles ആണെങ്കിൽ പിന്നെ എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും I can tell when there is a difference in what is in the subtitles and what's being said because sometimes I'll be like, that's not what they said, or these subtitles are really, so it's like, so I'll ask Arjun, I'm like, they said this, and he's like, yeah, you're right that they did. Like, there's this movie, a Mohanna movie, Vanatrastha, right? And the movie has very poetic Malayalam. Like the way they speak, the whole thing, because it's based on a Kathakali artist and all this philosophy of acting and characters and literature and the subtitles are very basic and Arjun was just like, you are missing like 2/3 of the movie by not like really understanding what the poetic Malayalam they're using, so there's that kind of gap in understanding, so I just have to keep listening and keep practicing.
ഈ കൺസിസ്റ്റൻസി എങ്ങനെ മെയിൻറ്റെയിൻ ചെയ്യുന്നത്? ഇപ്പോൾ 3 വർഷമായിട്ട് ഐ തിങ്ക് ഓൾമോസ്റ്റ് എവറി ഡേ യു പ്രോബ്ലി സെറ്റ് സ്പെസിഫിക് ടൈം ടു ഡു ദിസ് ബിക്കോസ് ഇപ്പോൾ ഇൻസ്റ്റാഗ്രാം എടുത്ത് നോക്കിയാൽ തന്നെ യു ക്യാൻ സീ ദ നമ്പർ ഓഫ് പോസ്റ്റ് ദാറ്റ് യു ആർ പോസ്റ്റിംഗ് ഓൺ എ റെഗുലർ ബേസിസ്. അപ്പോൾ ഇൻസ്പൈറ്റ് ഓഫ് ഇപ്പോൾ യു ഹാവ് എ റെഗുലർ ജോബ്, യു ഡൂയിങ് ഓൾ ദീസ് തിങ്സ് in life as such, life gets in the way most of the time. അപ്പോൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഈ കൺസിസ്റ്റൻസി മെയിൻറ്റെയിൻ ചെയ്ത് പോകുന്നത് and not losing hope when things are difficult?
So, എനിക്ക് ഒരു break വേണമെങ്കിൽ ഒരു break തരും. If I feel like I need to take some time off, and I've taken 2 to 3 weeks off just to kind of wrap my head around things and get like, when I moved here, I had to have some time to adjust to that. And then at the beginning of the year, I was kind of going through this, where am I go? Because, social media, it's a live creature, right? It's always changing, always adapting. And one thing as a content creator, no matter what your content is, you want to make sure that even though you're going with the new trends or you're going with the new features, that you're staying with your main idea. And sometimes that means watching other people skyrocket, like in the regards to engagement and followers and stuff. And, you sit back and you're like, okay, that's fine for them. But for me, like, I need to stick to what is important to me. So a lot of times I find myself coming back and being like, okay, is what I'm doing actually helping the Malayalam learning community? Is it helping the Malayali community? Is it really relevant to what we do? And is it what Elikutty is? And so, there's a lot of that, always negotiating, like, instead of trying to just follow the trends or trying to, ride the wave. Because as a white person participating in Indian space, it's very easy to make stuff that can go viral or get a lot of engagement and things. And I don't want to abuse that. I want to make sure that I'm actually putting out quality things that are useful, things that are helpful and are a positive representation or a more complete representation of the community I'm working with, So it is always like this checks and balance thing. And as for consistency, yeah, like for my series, what I do is, for example, with Broadwell, I reached out to him 2 months ago about the collaboration, and I made a calendar and I made folders. We have like a Google Drive that we share, and we just touch base with one another, and we get everything ready, and then I have it scheduled and we follow it like that. So, doing social media has actually taught me a lot about project management, which I didn't expect. Because when I first started, it was just a notebook and a pen and me posting stuff, and suddenly I had to learn how to use Canva, and I had to learn how to use Adobe Premiere. I had to learn, project management, networking, these kinds of things. So it's it's been really crazy. It's definitely a good experience, but it is very draining at times. But sometimes after a long day at work, it actually feels good to come home and work on a video or engage with people through social media, because it's a fun thing. And I think that because I don't make money off of this, it's easy to kind of have like a relaxed attitude about it. This is not my source of income. This is not, something that I have to rely on for my livelihood. So I can take breaks when I need to. I can step back when I need to. And actually, after this month, I'm going to probably be scaling back a bit, because I am going to be working on a book, because I was contacted by a publisher, and I'm already 6 months behind. He's messaging me the other day. He's like, "Do you have any updates?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm gonna lose it." I need to get that together. So there's an ebb and flow. But with social media, it really is easy to get caught up. Like sometimes, like I have a monitor on my phone about how much time I spend online, and sometimes they'll be like, "You've spent 6 hours on the internet today," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" But yeah, so like it can be really challenging, and sometimes it's better to step back, and kind of reassess.
Yeah, Pina, I think, social media, you have actually done a TED talk, even though we talk about negatives about social media. When I started doing this, difficulty I'm always constantly checking etra like etra followers check and like you said, അത് mentally ഭയങ്കര draining ആണ്. And then you have to kind of put a check and say that no, I'm not going to use social media, ഒരു particular time അല്ലാണ്ട് ഞാൻ യൂസ് ചെയ്യില്ല. And that actually makes a huge difference, in your mental capacity, in your mental space. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു വന്നത്, you had actually done a talk on TED talking about how social media will save us, right? And even though most people, ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ ഒരു outlook most of the time is that social media is bad for you, ഇപ്പോൾ documentaries like Social Dilemma ഒക്കെ എടുത്ത് നോക്കിക്കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ a lot of it, bashes social media. But at the same time, if you really know how to use social media, it's obviously something that's bringing a lot of people together. And something that I was so shocked to hear on your TED Talk was that 22 languages per year actually die, right? About you were talking about how we can use social media to bridge this gap. Do you think that കുറെ ലാംഗ്വേജസ് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ ഇങ്ങനെ that are very outdated, or not outdated, rather that's probably the wrong word, പക്ഷേ that a lot of people, it's dying basically. If you're talking about Vietnam, some of the mountain tribe languages that are dying. Can you explain to the audience, or even to me, how is social media actually going to help us make sure that the language doesn't die?
So I can give you some concrete examples. There are some projects online. One of them is called 7,000 Languages. Another one is called Wikitongues. And there's several others. And because either social media will be used by the user itself, if you have someone who speaks that language as a part of this group, and they have access to the internet and they can use these devices, they can document it for themselves. And then you have these organizations that have people on the ground collecting samples and data and getting interviews and these kinds of things. Because traditionally, when we learn history, when we learn language, when we learn this, we have to rely on mainstream sources of information, the news, textbooks, the governmental education systems. And as we know, those are all very flawed and have a lot of middlemen and have a lot of, barriers for people from minority or underrepresented groups. And so now social media has, like, it's literally in our hands. Like, if I want to document something, I can go. Like, a very small example of this would be the dialect series that I did 2 years back, where I just had people submit themselves talking in their accent. And so, even though, for example, Gorigod has probably a dozen accents within itself, I was able to get one sample of Gorigod and then one sample of, Kasaragod and like this kind of thing. And we can do this on a grand scale. We can go and find these smaller communities with endangered languages and capture them, record them and have them there. Also, because of the pandemic, there's been a rise in online courses, and this has actually empowered a lot of groups. For example, in Alaska, my uncle married a Native Alaskan woman, and so my cousins are part Alaskan, so they're Alaskan Native, and they've been able to learn from their community through different workshops online and interacting with elders through the internet and this kind of a thing. And there are more of these Indigenous language programs being set up across Canada and in North America in general. And so it's really great to see that these are Native created organizations teaching other natives the native language, so it's very much like by the people for the people of that community. And these are the things that we can do. We can document it. Once it's on the internet, you can archive it, you can have it on YouTube, you can save it. It's there. And it's not disputable. When you print something in a newspaper or you print something in a textbook, we have to say, like, what's the source? Where is this coming from? Who okayed this? But, when you have it coming from the person itself, from the community itself, like, there's very little room for error in that aspect. I think that, social media has that power to, make it more direct. There's less people to go through. There's less organizations. There's less of this watering down, whitewashing of things, and we get it directly from the source.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And social media, obviously, because you post this online, it's like it's going to be available forever, even after all of us are gone. This is going to be there for people to look at and see what the world was like, how, we have helped keep the language alive. And where ഒരു കാര്യം that I found really interesting is that the way you teach the language. I really loved the visualizations that you do, right? You draw pictures and is that a technique that you learned because you're a language teacher yourself, or is that something you figured out yourself that this is a very good way to visualize something? And ഇപ്പോൾ ഒരു വാക്ക് കാണുവാണെങ്കിൽ അത് വിഷ്വലൈസ് ചെയ്ത് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ കൂടുതൽ എളുപ്പമായിരിക്കും എന്ന് തോന്നാൻ കാര്യം, what was that?
So ഞാൻ 12 വർഷമായി ഞാൻ ഒരു ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ടീച്ചർ ആയിരുന്നു. സോ എനിക്ക് കുറെ ക്വാളിഫിക്കേഷൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. സോ ട്രെയിനിങ്ങിൽ കുറെ സ്ട്രാറ്റജീസ് പഠിച്ചു. So this technique is very common actually for drawing the mouth and the teeth and the tongue to show where different sounds are made. Because for example, എനിക്ക് ദുബായിൽ എൻ്റെ സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് അറബി പെൺകുട്ടികളായിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ അറബിയിൽ ഒരു ഭ ശബ്ദമില്ല. സോ ബ മാത്രമുള്ളൂ. So sometimes ചിലപ്പോ എൻ്റെ സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ബാർത്തി എന്ന് പറയും. സോ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ടിഷ്യൂ കിട്ടി, പിന്നെ ബ the tissue doesn't move. പക്ഷേ pa, the tissue moves. So each strategy shows the difference between ba and pa. Even though the mouth is the same, the air is different. So we learn all these kinds of strategies for English language teaching, and a lot of them are transferable to other languages, obviously. So ഒരു strategy ഉപയോഗിക്കും ക്ലാസ്സിൽ. If a student can teach another student the concept that they just learned, that means that they actually know it. So for me, if I'm making a resource in Malayalam, it's helping me remember. Especially when you're editing a video, you're hearing yourself saying it over and over again, you're writing it down, or when you listen and you hear yourself make a mistake, you can go back and fix that mistake. So it's a really useful way for me to scaffold my understanding. Like recently I did the ordinal numbers, onamate, randamate, and like editing that video and adding the captions and everything, I was hearing it over and over again. And then just a couple weeks ago, I was talking to Arjun's Amuma, and so Amuma vaccination kitty. So nyan ചോദിച്ചു ഒന്നാമത്തെ വാക്സിനോ രണ്ടാമത്തെ വാക്സിനോ ആണ് ഒന്നാമത്തെ മാത്രമാണ് പക്ഷെ വേണ്ട കരഞ്ഞിട്ട് രണ്ടാമത്തെ കിട്ടും. So like I was able to use that, and I had taught it to myself, you know, like a few weeks back. So it's really nice that you know, doing these things, it's not just putting it out there. It's for me as much as it is for the audience. And that's why I say Instagram is the curation of the best events. So, you know, epuromo oru interview kittumbo korchu pediyai, because, you know, it's like, oh, Elikutty inde Malayalam korchu moshamaye. You know, it's like, oh, she's not as fluent as she appears on social media. So like, but that's how it looks, because I'm only posting. I'm not going to give a Malayalam lesson in bad Malayalam, right? So it's like people don't realize that, of course, I don't look like that every single day. I don't talk like that every single day. Hanoya, ayyo kashtamai. Ivide onna Malayali matram ullu kandumutti. Like I have only that was just 2 weeks ago. So Arjun matramulu, you know, Malayalam Sapsarikim. Like I can only speak with Arjun and Malayalam here. And you know, when you're in a relationship with someone, it's really difficult to teach them a language, because you have to change your role. Suddenly it's like not a playful, happy conversation. It's giving corrections and changing this and asking difficult questions. Like or example in the reels, think ekurichane. Did you see that one where I'm asking about the different words for think? So you have like chindikuga, you have alojikuga, you have, you know, all these different things. And yeah, this was like something we were talking about, and I decided to make a reels about it. So it's really lighthearted, but there have been literal fights or me crying because I don't know what's going on or why it's like when I first started learning about la and ra.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Because he would say, yeah, there's two different laws. There's palli and parli. And I'm like, it's the same. He goes, it's not the same. It's palli and parli. And I'm like, it's the same. He's like, it's not. And I'm like, I don't hear the difference, you know? So it can be really stressful. So, you know, when people say, oh, her husband's Malayali, of course she knows Malayalam. Just because you know a language doesn't mean that it's easy to teach it to someone else. So, yeah, even now he's like, you're at this point where I want you to ask like professionals when you have Malayalam doubts. So like I have a group of friends that are linguists and all, and I'll be like, what to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു you really have to admire Arjun as well, you know, for always, like, ഇപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങളുടെ ട്രാവൽ വീഡിയോസ് കാണുവാണെങ്കിലും you're always asking him stuff, and there could be a time, like in any relationship, like you said, where you get annoyed. I'm like, oh, come on, you know, we're trying to have a good time here, but you know, one person's trying to shoot a video and പിന്നെ മലയാളത്തിൽ സംസാരിക്കാൻ നോക്കുന്നു. I mean, really props to him for, you know, always, I mean, the support that he's giving you. Obviously it's something that's so difficult.
Actually, you know, I thought at first he wouldn't want to do the vlog, but like he got really excited. He like really likes it, and it's just nice because like it's a lot of work to make a vlog. Those vlogs take about a week to produce, because it's like first you edit them, and you know, so adiyam edit cheythu, so Adobe Premiere, transitions, video clips anganeyana. So technical aspect of it, pinne oru voice over editor. So adiyam njan oru inde broken Malayalam voice over editor. Pinne Arjun proofread cheythu, pinne revise, pinne njan record ശ്രമിക്കാം, പക്ഷേ Arjun approve cheyanam. So like he has to make sure that I don't just record the voiceover once. I have to do it again and again and again. Make sure that the ucharanam is very so yeah. So my very first our very first travel vlog was Armenia. And I was new to Adobe Premiere. I was still really, if you go listen to that vlog, like it's so cringy to listen to it now. My Malayalam has improved a lot. So like I'm listening to, like, and you can hear that I'm reading from a piece of paper. Like it's that unnatural, like my Malayalam. But it's great because like I go back and I'm like, wow, I've learned a lot of Malayalam. I feel really good. So all of that, and it took me about a month. And then I had to add the subtitles, and subtitles are, as you know, very much
Yeah.
pain. On stuff. So yeah, for a 15-minute video, it takes like a whole day to subtitle it. And like I said, I don't make money off of this, so I don't have the, capital to just outsource the work to others. I just do everything myself. And so yeah, we did that. But then, we had one for Rwanda, and then we did one for Maharashtra. That was our last one. And hopefully soon we're going on holiday at the end of the month to Central Vietnam. So I'll have my first Vietnamese travel vlog. Hopefully it doesn't take a month.
ഞാൻ ആക്ച്വലി 2019 പാൻഡമിക് ഒക്കെ തുടങ്ങുന്നതിന് മുന്നേ ഞങ്ങൾ വിയറ്റ്നാമിൽ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. സോ യാ, ആൻഡ് ഐ ജസ്റ്റ് ലവ്ഡ് ഹനോയ് സോ മച്ച്. ഞാൻ എക്സ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്തില്ല ബിക്കോസ് you don't have a lot of expectations when you're coming there. പക്ഷെ അവിടെ എത്തിക്കഴിയുമ്പോൾ the culture, the food, the people are so nice, and I liked Hanoi more than Ho Chi Minh or the city kind of places, right? I really loved Hanoi. അപ്പോൾ I want to ask you this earlier also. നമ്മൾ സംസാരിച്ചപ്പോൾ എന്തായിരുന്നു ഹനോയിലോട്ട് മാറാനൊരു താല്പര്യം എന്തായിരുന്നു?
I didn't catch quite all of that. So what about Hanoi?
No, so what I'm saying is that what was the reason why you decided to move to Vietnam? There's so many other countries, right? So why Vietnam?
So Arjun, all right, munbu Arjun oru business development manager ayirana. Arjun, nalla jolly undayena, പക്ഷെ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു നിന്റെ passion അല്ല, like you can do something better than this. Or a teacher album, better album. It's like better if he's a teacher. പക്ഷേ ദുബായിൽ കഷ്ടമായി, Indian passport holder ആയതുകൊണ്ട് പിന്നെ ഒരു teaching certificate ഇല്ലാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് like it's very difficult to get started as a teacher in Dubai if you don't have any previous experience. And also, in Dubai ഒരു tier system ഉണ്ട്, Westerners best salary കിട്ടും പിന്നെ അങ്ങനെ. So even if he got an offer from a school, it was so bad. It's like, it's not worth it. So പിന്നെ ഞാൻ ഒരു ടീച്ചർ ആയിരുന്നു, പക്ഷെ എനിക്ക് ഒരു മാനേജ്മെന്റ് പൊസിഷൻ വേണമായിരുന്നു. So and UAE-ന്റെ വർക്ക് കൾച്ചർ കുറച്ച് ടോക്സിക് ആണ്. സ്കൂളിൽ ഭയങ്കര ടെൻഷൻ ഉണ്ടാവും, പിന്നെ സ്റ്റെബിലിറ്റി ഇല്ല. എന്റെ സ്കൂൾ സിസ്റ്റം 15 campuses ഉണ്ട്. So ഒരു മാസം നോട്ടീസ്, രണ്ട് ആഴ്ച നോട്ടീസ് മട്ടം ചെയ്യണം. So like they can transfer you with very little notice to a different school. So after 5 years I was like, would it change വേണം? So എന്റെ ആദ്യത്തെ ജോലി കൊറിയയിലായിരുന്നു. So കൊറിയയിൽ കുറെ കൂട്ടുകാരന്മാർ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. So ഒരു ഫ്രണ്ട് ഹനോയിൽ ആയിരുന്നു. So ഞാൻ friend വിളിച്ചു. പിന്നെ I was asking, like, how is it there? How is teaching there? And he's like, oh, it's good. It's not so bad. Like, it's easy to work here. The jobs are really nice. The cost of living is low. You can relax here. So പിന്നെ അർജുനും ഞാനും decide. December 2019, we decided we were going to move to Vietnam. So in February, Arjun Vietnamil etti. Pinne corona. So in the plan, my school year finished in July 2020. So the idea was get a job. Arjun goes first, gets a job. I join him in July, and then we go on with our lives. Pakshe, anganeyalla. So Arjun Hanoil എത്തിയപ്പോൾ corona lockdowns തുടങ്ങി. പക്ഷെ ഒരു teaching certificate program ചെയ്യായിരുന്നു. So and because Vietnam was so strict with lockdown and everything from the beginning, they were able to open back up quickly and have very low cases. So Arjun the teaching certificate program തീർന്നപ്പോൾ പിന്നെ ജോലി കിട്ടി, എല്ലാം okay ആണ്. പക്ഷേ Vietnam totally closed ആയിരുന്നു. Like there were no flights going in. So എനിക്ക് ഒരു job offer കിട്ടി, പക്ഷേ we had to wait for the government to allow me to come into the country. So I wasn't able to come here until September. And yeah, like oru Emirates flight completely empty. Like there was only like 20 people on the flight, and I came here and they put me in a ambulance to take my hotel for quarantine and everything. So been there, like it was almost 8 months. Arjun and I were apart. So like in the hotel, oru janelil noku. Arjun, he was like waiting downstairs and he was having tea and looking at me. And so, it was very nice. So yeah. So the short version of that story is we wanted a change in our careers and we thought that this was the best place to do it. And then we were lucky that they just happened to be the one place where life is pretty normal in this pandemic situation. So we're really grateful for that. സന്തോഷമായി.
അപ്പോൾ അർജുനും ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് തന്നെയാണോ പഠിപ്പിക്കുന്നത് അവിടെ സ്കൂളിൽ?
അതെ. So ഇപ്പൊ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ടീച്ചറാണ്. പക്ഷേ he hopefully can move into science or history. You know, ipo Arjun's Instagram geopolitics too. So he's he's really into maps and history and politics. Every morning he's listening to, you know, Caspian Report and all these other different so he's like really into, and even before he was a teacher, like he was always learning stuff. So I was like, you have to be a teacher. Like being in business, you're wasting your brain like this. So, you know, he's an English teacher now and hopefully can move up to be a different subject teacher in the coming year or so. So I'm really proud of him because it was just a crazy situation for everyone. Like I've spent my whole life just jumping to a country I don't know and where I don't know anybody. Like I'm used to it. I've been doing that since I was 20. But Arjun, you know, he had more of the typical, you know, he grew up with his parents, and then when he went to university, you know, it was in India, and then even when he did his master's, it was his friends from his undergrad there and his master's as well. And then he's always been places where he knew people and he was familiar. So like he went by himself to Hanoi with one of my friends as a contact that he'd never even met, and he really adapted well. And you know, it was a really big thing, and I was really happy with that it turned out well, because we were worried for a bit. We're like, oh no, what if this whole thing just doesn't work out, you know, with moving? But it did. So
yeah. And you know, another thing that Malayalis or Indians rather, we try to take the safe path all the time, so that you know that you're settled in life. I took engineering because it's a safe path. ഇവിടെ you know IT-ൽ ഇഷ്ടം പോലെ ജോലിയുണ്ട്, എവിടെയെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ ഒരു ജോലി കിട്ടും. But like you said, that might not be something that's going to keep you happy. And when you think of the fact that you have to do this job for 40 years or 35 years, it's something that's really difficult. So it's definitely something to admire when someone, after he's already settled in his career at some point when he's in Dubai, right? Kora naalu joli chedu, you're settled, you're getting a good pay, and then to, you know, jump and move out of all that is definitely something that's commendable.
I mean, we have to, like, obviously we have a lot of privilege to do that. Like he comes from, you know, a very well settled family, and then I have a Western passport. I can go anywhere I want, and it's easy for me to find a job. So like, I know not everybody can do this. You know, I know it's not possible for everyone to drop what they're doing and go. But I told Arjun, like, you are privileged enough to do this, and you have the opportunity. You should take advantage of it. So, and that was the thing. Arjun Arjunode പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ, you know, I'm quitting my job to be a teacher, you know, it was really tough. You know, he was kind of like telling people like, oh yeah, he's working on this thing right now, or oh, he's working on this thing, you know, like to kind of keep the face. But actually, you know, after 1 year now, Acha seems to be really happy. Like he's like, okay, my son is happy, he's doing something good, he's growing, and he's happier, you know. Like in Dubai, oh my god, this one job he had, he was working this is very common, he was working 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, really stressful conditions. His boss was really unfair, even cruel sometimes to him, and he would just come home so stressed and so, you know, and I'm like, do you really want to like do this? Like, you know, and so now he's just like, now that he started teaching, he's like, wow, I actually enjoy showing up to office every day. You know, I get excited about doing this and that. So it's really good that he was able to make that switch, and he's happy about it, because it is a big risk. Like, what if he decides to go into teaching and then he's like, oh no, I hate children. Like, what are you going to do? Because that happens. I know people back, you know, college പഠിച്ച് teaching പഠിച്ച് ഒരു license കിട്ടും പിന്നെ ആദ്യത്തെ ദിവസം സ്കൂളിൽ
Yeah. പിന്നെ ഞാൻ വേറെ I want to ask you about you are obviously someone who loves to travel, and you've been to 23 countries, അല്ലേ?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I think you spoke about that in one of your talks or on one of your videos. അപ്പോൾ ആദ്യം തന്നെ when you were in the US, to it's not very common that people probably move to Korea, or I don't know if it's common. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but that too takes a lot of courage to do something like that, to go and teach in Korea, or I think you were in Japan also, no?
I was working with a Japanese family in the States, but I did work in South Korea. So I was very much okay. So when I was growing up, I was always Elikutty analo, like always listening to my parents, doing this, doing that. But over time, I started wanting to do my own thing, but my parents are very strict, and so then after I turned 18, like I moved out with my boyfriend at the time. I like changed the program that I was majoring in. I was going to be a pharmacist, and I decided I don't want to do pharmacy. So, I even dropped out for a semester while I figured out what I was trying to do, and I was working 2 jobs, So like, when I was in my 18, 19, and 20, it was a very turbulent time for me. My parents, and then like, yeah, so basically I don't recommend this for everyone, but I got married at 21, and my ex was in the military and got sent to Korea, and I was like, I'm not gonna sit here in America while my ex is in Korea. So I joined, like I got a job at a school and I went, and the marriage didn't last, but my love for teaching and traveling did. So like it was just one of those things where I did it when I was really young. I was 21, just to move and go and teach. And then I learned how to take care of myself. I was very independent. So like, it doesn't feel so difficult, but I do know like it's not easy for some people. And I know some people are very attached to their families or to their homes, and that's totally fine. And it's really hard for them. They're like, I can't imagine just leaving my family and going to work in China or going to work in the UK. It isn't easy, and it's yeah, it can be scary. Or like, I'm used to traveling by myself, but I know a lot of people don't like it either. Like, I spent 8 weeks going across Australia and New Zealand with a backpack, and some people are like, I can't do that. But yeah, I'm the first in my family to go work and live outside the US. My dad doesn't enjoy being on long plane rides at all. When my mom came to the wedding in India, that was her first time outside of the US. Like, like it was really, no, it wasn't the first time outside the US. When she visited me in Dubai, that was her first time. And then India was her second time. But, India and UAE are very different. UAE is kind of like, especially Dubai, it's like very westernized. It's very, it's not too unfamiliar, but like India was just this big culture shock for my mom. Typical madama, like, oh, nika spicy foods, yeah, like, yeah, I remember we were at one restaurant in Kochi, and I was telling Cheta, less spice, please. He's like, oh, fuck shit, the taste will change if I don't. So we ended up taking her to like French toast. So yeah, it's not easy for everyone. But I'm just really glad that my life has gone the way.
Yeah, and since you spoke about the wedding, ipo naatile oru tradition, oru Hindu wedding, to be part of that, how difficult was that experience? Because last week I spoke to Samantha Kannan, so she was also telling me how stressful it can be, because you don't know the culture exactly. You don't know if you're going to offend someone. About what was your experience like? Did Arjun brief you on these are the things that you have to do? And yeah.
So കുറച്ച് internet research ചെയ്തു. So Arjun's family, so we were looking at the kinds of weddings that are within his family, right? And so in the research, it was like, in this ceremony, most of it is just people arguing over which is the correct way to do the ceremony. So I was like, okay, this is what we're in for. So like, usually I'm very much a control person. Like I like planning my holidays. I like planning this, planning that. But like, as soon as I realized, we're going to have this traditional wedding, I was like, Eliza, this is not about you. This is about Arjun's family showing that they are a good family. So I'm just going to look and smile, So like that day, like, yeah, I just pretty much, like, I knew the things that kind of would happen, but I was just like, just look good and smile. And if I had any issues, I could tell Arjun and Arjun would handle it. But like for his family, it's just a 1-day event and it's just like an hour or so. We spent more time standing and going. So yeah, and at that time, my Malayalam wasn't as good. So like I was kind of having like a blissful moment because people are all arguing in Malayalam and I don't know. Okay. Oh, he's gonna tie it now. Okay, put the garland on. Okay, walk 3 times around. Okay, eat the banana. Like this kind of thing. So it was fine. Because like I had resigned myself before. I'm like, just enjoy your day. So many people, unfortunately, they get wrapped up in and this is Western weddings also. Like, there's so much tension and all this, and then when the day is finished, they're like, I don't remember my wedding because all I remember was all the stuff I was stressed about. And so I think it's important that there are some things, and communication is important beforehand. Like if there's things that you don't want to do or you do want to do, that needs to come up before. But on the wedding day itself, I'm just like, I'm here and I look beautiful and I'm just going to enjoy my day, kind of a thing.
When I spoke to Samantha, she was saying that sari താഴെ പോവോന്ന് ഒരു പേടി ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു എപ്പോഴും when she started wearing a sari. So during the wedding, was that the first time you actually wore a sari, and did you have those fears of will it come off?
I was more afraid of Arjun's munda. Because you always see those videos, right? So he has like the belt on and he has everything like tucked in.
Yeah.
Actually, so India was actually in Delhi. So like I went to India for the first time 1 year before I met Arjun. So I did the tourist triangle. And so Dubai Linika Kore India kar friends. I have a lot of Indian friends in the UAE. And because of that, they would connect me to their friends back in India. So like when I went to Delhi, Jaipur and Agra, I had connections. I had people to stay with, kind of a thing. And so one of my friends, Suhani, she took me to an area where it was really good place to get saris. So I got like a little chiffon sari. And so she taught me how to tie it. And chiffon's the easiest sari to tie. You like literally barely do anything and you can throw it across. It's these heavy silk ones and cotton ones that you have to really crease and fold. Those are really challenging. So, and when I'm in Kerala, I'm always spoiled because my in-laws will call a salon lady to the house and she'll do everything, right? So, and it's just, but afterwards it's like, oh, there's so many safety pins. You're like, there's another. So I felt really secure in my sari because they used a lot of pins. We hired Samson to do our makeup and dressing and everything, and he's worked with a lot of people in the industry there in Kerala. So like I trusted him to do everything well, and so I felt fine. So, but I was like I said, Arjun's munda, like we were just joking. Step on the munda.
The wedding shoot also would have been ഇപ്പൊ എന്തോരം ഫോട്ടോ എടുക്കണം at that particular day, smiling would have hurt. That's what happened with me. So how is that? Is it very different? Ippom US you guys have a much smaller wedding, right? Ipo oru 100 പേര് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ 120 പേര് കുറച്ച് ആൾക്കാർ.
Yeah, it really depends because some people do have the big weddings, but typically, like we would say, 200 people is a big wedding. Like, and we're like, India's like, what? That's like the family. So,
yeah.
But actually, we had a smaller wedding by Indian standards. I think we had about 200 people, mostly because it was mostly Arjun's side of the family. I had some friends fly in, I had my mom fly in, and all. So that was really nice. But yeah. what I liked, well, it's just funny because at the wedding itself, so Muna Divasam Mumba, എനിക്ക് വയ്യാതായിരുന്നു. I got sick.
വയ്യാതിരിക്കുവായിരുന്നു. Yeah.
So like ഒരു stomach virus or something. I don't know what happened. Like suddenly I had fever and was sweating and I was Vishapamari. Like I had no appetite. So, you know, before the wedding, like thankfully my mom was there and she's taking care of me and everything. And then on the wedding day, like I barely eat and we're getting dressed and everything. And then during the wedding itself, my appetite comes back like suddenly. Like, you know, മൂന്ന് ദിവസമായി like കഴിക്കില്ല. പക്ഷെ ഇപ്പൊ ഭയങ്കര വിശപ്പ്. And so like, the wedding finishes and everyone's going out to eat, but we have to stand there for all the photos, right? So Arjun's appachi is standing next to me, and she's a really funny lady, and she and I get along really well. So we're standing there for the photos, and I'm smiling, and I'm like, appachi, and she's like, I'm like, and she's like, smiling, telling her how hungry I am. And then when we finally, there's a picture on my Instagram where I'm eating at my wedding, because there's always that picture, right? Where like, and I have this look on my face, and it's just like, I'm trying to eat. I haven't eaten for 3 days. And then like, before I eat, my mom even took like a napkin and she put it across my lap, and she's like, this is a very expensive sari. Your in-laws have paid so much for this. Don't take any food.
Yeah, man, it's definitely something that's, it takes a lot of effort to, learn another culture to come in and do stuff that you're doing. And a lot of, ഇപ്പൊ കുറെ ഇതുപോലത്തെ weddings ഇപ്പൊ നടക്കുന്നുണ്ട് that, a lot of people, even if just looking at your page, the number of people who are in relationships with, people from different countries, and, people trying to learn the language and all of that. So I wanted to ask you one last thing before I let you go. Do you have plans to, make a course or something like that? I know, what you're already doing in some sorts is like a course, but a formal course for people who are, actually looking to learn a language, if that's a paid thing. A lot of people do stuff on Skillshare and, stuff like that, right? So do you have plans of something like that?
So as of right now, I don't. One of the things I've been trying to do is direct my audience to people who already have established courses, like people who are teaching through italki, people who are already. But even though there are other content creators, there aren't any formal courses as you would describe. So right now, like I said, I'm going to start working on my book, and maybe after that book is complete, we can look into doing a course from that. But this is another thing where I'm trying to navigate. Like, I don't feel great about charging money for things. Like, I'm definitely in the mind that education should be free and accessible, but also, people who put in the work and effort to make books and materials, like, they should be compensated for their time. So it's just one of those things where I'm grappling with that right now and trying to see what the best way forward is, or the best way to navigate it. Because again, I'm not from, Kerala. I'm not, from the culture itself. And there are people who are teaching Malayalam in Kerala that don't get attention simply because they don't look like me, or they don't have the presence that I do. So I'm trying to figure out, the best way to provide that which is needed, but like make sure that I'm not taking up space that someone else could probably benefit from more. So it's just one of those.
Yeah. And when you talk about the book endine kurichana?
So in the book, Malayalam conversation for beginners. So like a lot of stuff that I've already talked about on my page, just in a more easy to make format. I was contacted by a publisher based in India, and like we've had talks and everything. And like I said, I just need to sit down and actually put the content together now and do that. And so ideally it would be print and would have like QR codes or something so that it would take you to a video so you can hear the pronunciation online and things like that. So there's just a lot of really good ideas, but they've not been structured quite yet. And yeah, I really need to just get my shit together.
Yeah, I mean, this has been amazing, Eliza. Thank you so much for taking your time, and thank you so much for what you do. It's definitely fun and engaging. And recently, Jan, one of your latest videos where you talk about the fun, noises or fun. What was the name of the? Yeah. So, that was really amazing the way you enacted that. Great job on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I find myself using them at work and people don't even know what I'm doing. It's so sad because like I get, you get used to saying certain things and then so like at work something will happen, I'll be like che and they'll be like It's like-
Did she just spit? Yeah. Thank you so much, Eliza. This has been so much fun. Thanks for your time and keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.